What is going on, investors? Hopefully, you guys are doing well out there. Christmas is over. New Year's is on the way, and that means it's time for the FAANG Stock Recap Show here on the Investor Channel, where every Friday, recap all the major news and the technical chart patterns from all the major FAANG stocks. We'll make sure we have audio pumping to both ears on today's show because we have a lot of news, particularly around Google and that DOJ case as it relates to potentially selling their Chrome browser. Got a ton of OpenAI news as well, but we start things off like we always do. That is Meta Platforms. Start of the week at 594. Stocks were up and down. I'm recording this like minutes before the close, but Meta Platforms closing the week at about 598. Now, I'll be at CES, the Consumer Electronics Show, I think in about 2 weeks in Las Vegas, and I'm expecting to see probably at least a dozen, maybe 24 or more of these eyeglass kind of smart display. Now, Meta being a leader there as they partnered with Ray-Ban and they sell these glasses between $300 and $379. Now, I have yet to see anybody wear these out in the wild, but I'm assuming, some people have bought these. But Meta planning to release a smart display inside of the lens. It's going to allow you to get notifications. Also, we'll have Meta AI built in based on Llama 3, which is Meta's open source models. These will get more and more exciting as you start to have the display inside. And certainly Consumer Electronics Show, I'll probably maybe have one video devoted to them. Maybe I might be able to get some video of how they work and those types of things. And so we'll keep you update on that. Now, X, otherwise known as Twitter, they pumped up their Premium Plus subscription. This relates to all these companies because Elon Musk actually kind of set the precedent that you actually charge people on a monthly basis for like a blue check mark, maybe some other features on the social media site. And he's pumping up that subscription rate by 37%. So you know what that means? Meta gets like a green flag to probably do the same thing. And that is money that probably flows right to the bottom line, at least for Meta. Now, the United Kingdom is weighing facial recognition technology to keep kids away from social media. Forget the parents, guys. Forget being a good parent. Forget all the parental controls that you can have on a cell phone these days. Forget even letting your kid have a cell phone. No, we need facial recognition because apparently there's this rule in the United Kingdom where kids, I think under maybe the age of 11 or 12 or 13 can't be on social media. And they're saying a third of children age 5 to 7 are using social media unsupervised. I don't know what's worse, your kid using social media unsupervised or having facial recognition software. Tell you what, I think we need a parental re-education out there because this is the parents' job. But I guess if social media sites need to use facial recognition software, I guess that's what's going to be done. Moving on to Apple. Start of the week, we'll call it 255, roughly flat. Sorry, 254 was the price. We were up just fractionally on Apple to 255. You get the picture. It was a slow week, holiday week, as you can expect. Now, every week, we get an analyst chiming in on iPhone demand. Sometimes it's softer than expected. Sometimes it's slightly ahead. I think we can all agree that Apple's revenues for the upcoming quarter probably going to be in that low single digit, maybe slightly negative to the downside. But we're talking about iOS 18, the AI features. It looks like most of those aren't expected to roll out until next year. You got big countries of China not even having any artificial intelligence capabilities because Apple needs to maybe partner with a domestic provider as it relates to those things. I don't have one of the new iPhones, but I am seeing some of the features roll out on my Macintosh computers. I have not really used any of them. I've tested them out. They're nothing that special. I can see why the average layman person has no idea what any of this is, and they think artificial intelligence is a bubble or it doesn't do anything. But I use AI more and more as a part of my job every single day. Now, Apple cannot rely on Google, but that as it relates to testifying in the search antitrust trial, which is scheduled to start next year. Now, we've got more news when we get to Google, but Apple saying that they want to come in and testify really on the behalf of Google, saying, hey, this relationship that we have with Google that paid us a reported $20 billion. In fact, I don't think this is reported. I think it's a fact that Google paid Apple $20 billion. This was back in 2022. So we presume the payments have probably gotten higher since then to be the default search engine on Apple iPhones. Now, we'll get to what Google is proposing to the DOJ here very shortly. but these companies are going to line up and go to bat for each other. And anytime you got these mega giants going to bat for each other, you probably got some heavyweights when it comes to the legal profession in there. Moving on to Amazon. Start of the week at 225. And I swear my charts must not be working because it says the stock is up and we're at 223. Who knows? I've noticed my Safari after like the iOS update or in this case, the macOS update, everything's been working like crap on my Mac. It's like literally the worst it's ever been. In fact, I have Chrome installed on on my computer. I might actually start using it because Safari has gotten so bad, but that's a side story. Now, good news for Amazon is you had a late burst in holiday retail sales, rising by about 3.8%. That is according to MasterCard. Now, what was interesting is where that mix of spend came. You had apparel up 3.6%, jewelry is up 4%, electronic up about 4% as well. You do have to factor in year over year, you still have inflation running relatively in that 3 to 4% range. So the fact that you have retail sales running at 3.8% from kind of a real basis, real dollar perspective, that's actually not a gain. And what I thought was interesting though, and take note of this, is you have restaurant spending continuing to grow. I've seen a lot of strength in the restaurant sector, growth up 6.3% compared to last year. People are just going out to eat, and that is supported by not only the earnings that I've been going through. I've been going through Starbucks, McDonald's, Chipotle, a lot of kind of not all restaurants, but like food service and stuff. And their financials actually look pretty darn good. Now, Amazon is going to lower spending on ZT Systems. So ZT System is a company that is trying to be acquired by for about $2 billion, about $5 billion by AMD. This is going to be a cash and stock deal. ZT Systems kind of puts together networks, puts together servers. Apparently, AWS spent about $2 billion with them last year. And Amazon, it seems like the relationship between AMD and Amazon might be a little frosty because we've talked about how there was an executive or an employee of Amazon saying we're not seeing a lot of demand for AMD's AI chips. And here they are saying that they're going to lower their spending on ZT System, potentially opting to do some of this stuff in-house over at AWS. Moving on to Netflix. Start of the week at 909, drifted lower to about 907 on the streaming giant as they had a dazzling record-setting rating day as it relates to those Christmas NFL games. I guarantee you the NFL is thrilled about this partnership. I didn't see a lot of people having a problem with the streaming experience that you saw with, I think it was the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight. Seemed like that went relatively smooth. They had a halftime performance featuring Beyonce, which I think peaked at like over 27 million viewers during the halftime performance. I mean, these are massive numbers considering I think I saw ratings for the NBA, like the National Basketball Association, peaked at about 5 million viewers. So it's just showing you the juggernaut that is the NFL. Now, Netflix is going to continue their lawsuit against VMware, which is now a part of Broadcom. These two companies have actually been going at it since it looks like 2018, so kind of pre-merger, and Broadcom has kind of inherited this lawsuit where Netflix is saying VMware's vSphere program allegedly violates some of Netflix's technology. Moving on to Nvidia, start of the week at 137, drifting sideways. We'll call that roughly flat. Now, Hive Digital, which I think started out, it's a public company. It's like a penny stock, basically. I think it started out as a Bitcoin miner, but what these Bitcoin miners saw was we could pivot to leasing this space out to AI companies. And so they're going to spend $30 million on H100, H200. That's essentially kind of the previous generation, or at least very soon will be the previous generation of NVIDIA chips, just showing you there's still heavy demand for these H100s. Also, Hive expected to generate $15 million in annualized revenue. So it's just showing you there's just so much demand. When we get to the OpenAI segment, we'll just show you there's a lot of demand for these AI technologies. Moving on to Google, start of the week at 194, roughly flat on the search engine giant as it released, I think, an interesting list of remedies. If you're familiar with the DOJ case, they basically said that Google is violating antitrust provisions by maintaining a monopoly in two different markets here in the United States, both for general search services and general text advertising. The DOJ solution, I think, is certainly extreme. I actually agree with Google. They want them to sell the Chrome browser. They want them to end different search agreements with obviously Mozilla, which is Firefox, and Apple. They want them to have the government appoint a body that would monitor Google's actions and Google's business going forward in the search business. And I just think that's anti-American. It's anti-capitalism. We might as well run, kind of a China model here if we're going to have the government basically oversee these companies. Now, Google saying that, hey, we're not going to sell Chrome. We'll allow you to kind of have a little bit of an oversight. But this is a really, really light touch that Google is requesting. Now, obviously, the Department of Justice is run by somebody that was appointed by President Biden. We obviously have a new president just weeks away. We'll have a new president, new leadership over at DOJ. Some of the analysts that I read through here is that you could potentially have a settlement in this case because this is set to hear in April of 2025. You'll have Apple come to the table. You have Google, maybe other parties come to the table. The judge will hear out kind of the remedies from both sides. And then you're expected to have a decision coming in August or the summer of 2025. And then obviously, depending on the settlement or depending on the judgment, Google would have the ability to appeal this. So no matter what happens, Google can push this out years and years and years from now. But the other thing that they could potentially do is come to the table with the Department of Justice, not necessarily under the Biden administration, but under the Trump administration, and work out a settlement that both parties agree to, essentially ending all of this. We'll certainly see what happens. Now, company has got their hands on a lot of things, including Waymo, which is self-driving, but also Wing, which is these drones that deliver different types of products. And they've just partnered with DoorDash to deliver goods in the Dallas-Fort Worth metropolitan area. And you got about 50 merchants. I think this is in a shopping mall. And they're going to be able to fly 65 miles per hour, cruising about 150 feet above the air. You're going to see a lot of this at the Consumer Electronics Show as well. Leaders in this space are obviously Google, but also, interestingly enough, Walmart as well has huge investments here. In fact, I think one of their headquarters have these things flying all over the place. And so this is something I think we've got a couple of things to watch for when we get to 2025. Certainly the form factor of these augmented glasses, they're moving more to a glasses. Can this be a product that has wider spread usage? That's one thing. Number two, we've got autonomous flight, autonomous delivery, autonomous cars. That's another thing. And then we'll talk about it when we get to OpenAI, but you'll also have autonomous robots as well. Moving on to Microsoft. Start of the week at 437. I'm going to want to see this one technically. It is getting close to a buying range. Microsoft hitting the mark at about 430 to end the week. Now, OpenAI is trying to improve ChatGPT. Okay, they have competition out there from Grok. I actually canceled my ChatGPT subscription. I was paying $20 a month. Then I started using Grok, and I was like, actually, for my purposes, Grok, which is integrated inside of Twitter, otherwise known as X, it actually is a lot better for my usage because I search for news and events that are happening right now. And I've just found that Twitter's data, having access to all the tweets, is a lot more up to date. Now, OpenAI continues to have advantages over others, but is it worth paying $20 a month for? So they're continuing to try to improve ChatGPT. Now, the alleged rumor out there is they're working on a GPT-5 codename Orion. And last year they ran 2 huge training runs. So this is running through the Microsoft Azure servers, as you could expect, running through Nvidia chips and any type of chips that they can get their hands on. And they're finding that the software just didn't meet expectations, and that they had high expectations for Orion, having maybe higher capabilities than what was expected, certainly probably better than what's currently on the market, but they're certainly not advancing in these things faster than what people are expecting. Also, those training runs cost tens of, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars, and the losses over at OpenAI continue to stack up. Now, Microsoft, for its part, has been working on its own non-OpenAI models. We've talked about this actually on the show. Part of it has to do with their deal with OpenAI. Once OpenAI reaches quote unquote AGI, or at least this is the original agreement between Microsoft and OpenAI when Microsoft made that investment for part of the company, part of the deal was once the board of directors at OpenAI said, hey, you have reached AGI with the capabilities of your model, well, all of a sudden, Microsoft doesn't have exclusive access to that. And you can go out to the marketplace and service that however you want. Microsoft wouldn't actually have exclusive access to that. In the meantime, though, Microsoft does get exclusive access to any models that are not quote unquote AGI. Well, what Microsoft has done is said, hey, we don't want to put all our eggs in one basket. We're going to develop these models on our own. We have these compute power. We have these servers. We have capabilities as well. So they continue to fine tune these models, particularly around Copilot, where you have a lot of enterprise usage where you might need finer tuned models, ones that don't hallucinate or ones that have certain guardrails for certain types of industries. So Microsoft continuing to invest in that. Now, that was the rumor, and I think it makes a lot of sense, as was confirmed later in the week, that Microsoft does have various models in the usage, and I think this is probably bullish for Microsoft and in the long run, potentially bearish for OpenAI maintaining a leadership position here, because again, I'm using other models in exchange in unison with OpenAI, and I've just found its lead in terms of its capabilities has certainly gone down. Now, we obviously have the plan for a for-profit business conversion, and maybe they want to do this while the valuation of OpenAI remains where it's at. They obviously have to negotiate with I think the California state representatives here, or the legal system here, is because they started out as a nonprofit and now they're trying to turn into a for-profit business. They also have to renegotiate with Microsoft, which made an investment based on a non-profit formulation. Now, OpenAI is potentially pondering a humanoid robot in a quest to take AI to the next level. That's according to a report. But given that the company is bleeding money trying to develop newer and faster models and more intelligent models, I don't think they have what it takes. I think people are underestimating the effort and the materials and the backbone that you need for the humanoid robot. Right now, I don't think there's a lot of companies that have all the recipes. One company that does have all the recipes, so we'll talk about next here with Tesla. Start of the week at 425, drifted higher despite down about 5% during the regular trade today to about 431. Think about it. Tesla has everything that you need. It has the manufacturing chops. In fact, this is probably one of the best manufacturers here in the United States, certainly manufacturing a product that no one's ever seen before. Think about the electric vehicle. 10, 15 years ago, that was a pipe dream. Now they're mass producing them. They had the battery technology. They have some AI, vision, all those types of things. Tesla's one of the few companies. Not only that, Tesla doesn't have to fundraise. If you go to Tesla's balance sheet, it has tens of billions of dollars sitting there, and I don't think they have any bank debt at the current time. So this is a very financially healthy company that could invest a lot there. Now, the company did rally, obviously, post the Trump election, but also you're coming up on those Q4 deliveries. Every month, the company gives an update on those deliveries. You'll get those next week. I think they're supposed to expected pre-market. And so we'll see if this moves Tesla stock moving into next week. And as a side note, Elon Musk says he prefers Eli Lilly's Mounjaro over Novo Nordisk Ozempic, as he posted a rather thin photo of himself in front of a Christmas tree, looking very, very thin. Moving on to the technical segment of the show. We are on still a breakneck buy the dip pace with the S&P 500. You can buy the short-term dips. Certainly if we get longer-term dips, if we get more profit taking heading into next year, if you don't get that bump at the beginning of the year, sometimes what you do have is people make reallocations to different types of funds. If you have a retirement account, some people front load those in January. However you want to do that, I think there's positive and negatives to all those types of things, but sometimes you have a little bit of a front loading in that. So January tends to be a good month, but if it's not, they'll be buying opportunities going forward. Moving on to Meta. Has simply confirmed a new higher high. This one looking absolutely great. If you're really aggressive, you can actually buy this one here, a little bit lower down at 557. Also looks particularly tasty. Apple is just blasted off to a new higher high, just confirmed a new higher high, probably retest and back test to the top of the channel, back here to 249, further pullbacks. We are, again, not that far away from earnings. Actually, we're about a month away from earnings on basically all of these companies. That'll be something that we'll discuss quite a bit as we move into January. Amazon just got rejected at a very logical areas. Pullbacks in Amazon can absolutely be bought. Netflix made a new blow off top high, is hanging out here. You're waiting for pullbacks on Netflix. Anything back into the low 800s can be bought. Nvidia. So you have this gold trend line. Technically, you could say this is still, it's not technically intact, but it's something that the company could probably kind of get back into. If that goes away, if that trend goes away, you could flatten out to this purple trend, or maybe even flatten out a little lower than that. Nvidia dips still can be bought. That's still looking great. Google looking absolutely fantastic. We've just confirmed a new higher high on this one. Pullbacks in Google should be bought. Microsoft is probably the closest to what we would call a buying zone. Just got rejected at the middle of a channel. Now, it didn't confirm like a new higher high, but I don't think anybody's overly concerned about that. Pullbacks back into the 420 range. No, you're not going to load your pipe. You're going to load your shares up with Microsoft. And then finally, we got Tesla holding this area at 430. So you don't got incremental buyers showing up at 430 for Tesla, but you don't have incremental sellers showing up here as well. If you break 430 on Tesla, could be a pretty steep fall back to like maybe the 350s. That would be a very nice area if you want to step in on that one. Lower than that should be even more aggressively bought. Folks, that was the FAANG Stock Recap Show for Friday, December 27th. Hopefully you guys have a wonderful New Year's. Set those New Year's resolutions as it relates to investing. If you're already making automatic deposits, bump them up this week, okay? Instead of doing $50 a week, $100 a week, or whatever you're doing, bump it up just a little bit. Every year I try to bump it up. Now, some years, look, I got a family, I got bills to pay. I can't bump it up that much, but at least bump it up $1, $10, $5, whatever it is. And if you aren't started on a monthly saving plan, I prefer to do it weekly. Every single week, you should be pulling out at least $1 out of your account and deposit it into a Robinhood account, a Schwab account, an E-Trade account. I don't really care. None of them pay me any money. You can deposit it whoever you want to, but do it weekly. And if you're not started today, start today, do $1 a week. And as times get better, maybe you've got a job, you can do 20 a week, maybe you can do 50 a week, whatever it is. Stay on it, and you'll look back in 10, 15 years, and you'll have tens of thousands of dollars saved up, and hopefully a better financial future. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. Be back again next Friday. Good luck with your investments.